What's up guys, and welcome to another Rocket League analysis video. So today's video is a continuation of the last video I did, and I call it today, but I'll probably upload it on the same day. I don't know yet. Um, but this video is a continuation of the last video. So it'll be from the perspective of Tom, who's a teammate of COVID-19, aka Kevin. And yeah, let's get stuck in. We already know roughly what it looks like, but you guys have the worst sounds for your cars. Oh my lord. So this start bit here was actually a really good rotation from you. I would have made this touch ever so slightly softer or boomed it, either which way. However, there wasn't really a bad choice here because you had pressure and you had a beat regardless, so it's not a big deal. And you probably wouldn't have been able to boom it in time. Good job dodging the goalpost as well. You grab boost, you're using small pads instead of sacrificing rotation for a big pad. That was a good rotation hit from you. I definitely would have turned like mega fast for this, personally. But it's just decision making. So you grab this boost, and this guy fucked his touch up. You could have turned there like real quick and gone for it. However, Kevin was still really close, so I can understand why you didn't. And then not going for that one was good. You made a really good save there, so it was a really good rotation from you. Now you're just sitting back. You've been waiting. That's good. This was good as well. Unfortunately, your teammate was like right in the way, so it was really difficult for you to get a good boomer off. It would have been possible though. I don't know why he rotated straight into you. I don't know why I didn't pick that up the first time when he actually did it. Oh, so here's really unfortunate. You sort of got left in a bad position. Now you still could have pushed that right there. There was still an opportunity for you to rush that. However, you were gonna have to dodge a demo to do so. So I can understand wanting to dodge a demo and then just getting stuck in that situation. It was just an unfortunate situation for the most part. You didn't really get much of a chance. That was a good kickoff pass to your teammate. Unfortunately, he missed. Ooh, so in this situation, sometimes it can be better to keep ball cam instead of changing cameras like this. You could have kept the ball cam on because you would have actually spotted him a little bit better if you had kept ball cam on. Even though he was for the most part in your blind spot. That was a good job. But you didn't do anything wrong there. You did a really good job trying to catch the ball, and you still made a play happen. So it's very impressive. You're moving around the field very well, and you're grabbing little boost pads instead of focusing on the big ones, which is keeping you in position a little bit better. This one was a little bit antsy. So you realized you were out in a bad position, but then you saw it bounce. You saw that it was going to bounce off the ceiling. But instead of trying to get it into the corner to make a play happen, what you did instead was just slapped it into the sidewall. That was a bit risky and it offered them possession and a long shot opportunity, but it could have also afforded them a whole dribble if they wanted it. Because you went back and your teammate wasn't back yet. That was a really good beat there. Fortunately you got demoed, but that's no biggie because you ended up scoring up. Now here, that was a good rotation from you to stay back. Here in this scenario, because that guy pushed up, it wasn't so bad hitting it against the wall like this. But had the enemy waited back in a better position, this would have turned into a pass for him. Like he could have rushed that really and gotten it straight over your head and made it really awkward for you. And because your teammate, Kevin turned around on the wall, you're kind of stuck there. So I definitely would have recommended trying to just go for a long shot there, a long boomer clear, as best you could, seeing as you did actually have a bounce. As unfortunate as this rotation was, maybe using a tad bit of boost to get a little bit more central so that you're closer to the far post instead of the near post, just in case this ball came extra fast or bounced off the wall in a really awkward position. You wouldn't be in an awkward position because you'd be far enough back to boost into it. So this one here, I can see where he jumped for it, just in case Austin rushed it. However, I probably would have, once you realised that he wasn't going up, instead of using all this extra boost, I would have tried to go down with the ball to see if I could get a 50 off. And again, you're stuck alone in defense, but you did a good job rushing him there, making sure that you got a touch on the ball and being goal side for it. And you're moving around the field again really well. That was a good clear. I think it would have been safer if you followed that one up instead of your teammate, but because you didn't commit, it was like you were still in a good rotation just in case shit went bad. I feel like here you probably could, so your errors are a lot smaller than Kevin's were, so like you're not really making much in the way of small errors. It's more just taking advantage of these moments here when you realise that both enemies are out of position and you can take a long shot. And I feel like you almost had the right idea there. You knew that they were out of position, so you tried to do something fast. However, you just didn't wait long enough to get a bounce that would just turn into a slapper full field. This is smart for you to run away, use a bit of boost to get back. That was a really good dunk as well. Sorry, that was a really good clear as well. Even though you got demoed in the end, which is okay. So this was good by you. I spotted the tiniest bit of hesitation because you weren't sure, but maybe your teammate might jump for that. But I suppose you must have called him off it. And yeah, you did a good job clearing it. I would have put it on target just a little bit. However, you didn't really jump up in like the best possible way, so a shot on target wouldn't have been perfect anyway. And then unfortunately that happened. So here, I definitely, you would have been okay just slapping it back into the wall again, seeing as your teammate's so close to the center of the field anyway. Hitting it into the wall again to bounce it back into the center would have turned into a pass as well, instead of trying to go for a 50 or something like that. So it's something to keep in mind. You know, if you spot your teammate in a situation like that, you can just use the wall as another passing mechanism. And because most people are going to 50-50 goal side, they won't actually, they won't be able to defend like a passing play off a side wall. So he was good. You tried to go for the demo there. I would have personally gone for a pass there again. Just waited on that one and then slapped it backboard. Because you beat the first guy. Well, he beat himself actually. I don't even think he was going to hit that. Yeah, he was actually missing that every day of the week. But here, instead of going for the goalie, you had a choice either which way, so you didn't make like a bad choice objectively. It's just something to keep in mind, that if you have a wall bounce like this, you can usually turn it into another pass off the backboard. And when the enemy is where he is right now, it's really, really easy for him to get lost and caught underneath the ball. Nah. Sorry. So yeah, it's something to keep in mind. Is that yeah, you can go for a pass in that position as well as a bump. That touch was a little bit heavy as well. However, the guy was on his way back, so I can understand, like, if we look behind it, you can see he's charging back at you. So I don't necessarily disagree with that. Like, he went for a silly beat here attempt and completely screwed himself up. But he was on his way back, so if he had to slow down too much, it would have turned into a bad play. However, going on the sidewall here wasn't the smartest choice. So like heavy touch, which is fine, but I would have waited about here. I would have just put on the brakes for a sec and checked where the ball was going to go, where the enemy was going to go, because he still had you beat here. Like if he rushed this after the bounce, like if he was a little bit smarter, he would have rushed this directly after the bounce to stop a shot from coming, and he would have put it back and passed it back to you. And if he didn't rush it, then you would have had a shot. So he did rush it there. However, if you were still in the original position, it would have just turned into a pass back to you again. Oof, what a boomer. Your teammate didn't read this, but it was good for you. It was good of you not to commit. Oh, that was unfortunate. So in this situation, you got a bit caught out by this rotation here. You didn't go. You went for a near post rotation, which isn't a bad idea if you're like gonna ball chase. However, if you're not gonna ball chase, don't be afraid to move just a little bit further away. Use a little bit of boost to actually get further away from the ball, and then use the rest of your boost to boost back towards it so that you're facing the right direction. Because the orientation of your car is very, very important for effectively maximizing the way that your boost is going to be used and such. So yeah, don't be afraid to do that a little bit instead of getting caught in a situation like this. And if you do get caught in a situation like this, try to recover as fast as possible with like a half flip so that you're facing towards the net, or just boosting back around or something like that so that you have a bit of space. Or when a ball comes like this, ball chase it basically exactly like you did. However, don't like take your time, take a second, like a split second to assess where the ball is going to go so that you have at least a 50. So this situation here where your teammate had whiffed, you did really good every single other time in the game for not going for stuff like this. However, with this particular one, because these guys were dumb. This is one thing I don't like about like Champ 2, is that stuff like this happens all the time. Now, this Austin guy should never have gone for this ball, because the ball never should have been in that situation. But he still went for it anyway as like a rushing like a mechanic basically, which if you were a little bit further back would have actually turned into a pass for you and an open net. So like he actually made the mistake there, technically speaking. However, because you were close to the ball, he couldn't capitalize on it. Now that was unfortunate, but you being on the backboard, it seems like you were just trying to make sure that you weren't in Kevin's way at all. So I definitely would have taken a moment to just try to get straight off that wall there. You did good with the beat here. Unfortunately, it didn't go in. But I definitely would have taken a little bit of time to get off that wall as quickly as possible. Not that it matters too much, because it did actually turn into a goal. So that was really good for you to pass to your teammate. Unfortunately, he missed the boost, and then that happened. But it was smart of you. It was a decent kickoff regardless. Those are just kickoff goals. Sometimes there's nothing you can do about them. There was no error on your part. That was a good boomer. Ooh, and a bad read, but a good 50 after the fact. So here, a rule of thumb for passes: try to make them try to make the touches on a pass as small as possible. Like try to do as least touches as possible, because at least, what's the terminology? The correct terminology? I don't know. Try to minimize the amount of touches you do when passing. If you could keep it to just one touch, that's perfect, because it's the easiest for your teammate to read and the hardest for the enemy to read, because when you're about to pass, prior to you passing, most of the time you still have the choice to dribble. So it's something to keep in mind. You have a lot of power in this situation from a mindset perspective. After you got this 50, you had a lot of choices here. You could have dribbled, you could have not dribbled. However, if you just side flipped the ball into the middle of the field, your teammate would have beaten the enemy to it every single day. Because of this little dribble, your teammate is sort of a little bit hesitant, and the goalie isn't, because he can rush you at this point, because he knows that a certain amount of stuff is going to happen. You have to touch the ball at least a couple of times before you get it to go anywhere. Unfortunately, he messed it up anyway, because that was still a good pass. Like objectively, it was still a good pass. However, if your teammate's on the floor and is relatively close to you, keeping the passes at a minimum, keeping the touches on a pass at a minimum is the best way to go, because it's the easiest for them to read, and you can usually just stick it smack bang in front of their car anyway, especially if they're on the floor. Just like a side flip will usually speed the ball up enough to get it smack bang in front of their car. That was such a good beat. And let's go. It was a good game though. You can have a look at the points. You could see that you were making like a lot of the rotational, like the vital rotational movements. And earlier on in the game, you had MVP before all these goals got scored. So yeah, all in all, I think there's really no major errors that you're making that would be like, oh, this cost you this or this cost you that, because for the most part there was nothing that really cost you straight up. It was just little moments that that you could have taken advantage of in better ways, and that's usually just jitters, you know, it being a little bit rusty and stuff like that. Things like that, they're mechanical errors that you already know about, that you probably realize that you've done when you did them, as well as, so there's no point me pointing them out, you know. But all in all, you played a very good game, and you did a lot of the most important stuff this game. The stuff that really clutched up, that is quite underappreciated more often than not. So you were actually like pivotal in winning this game. So I wouldn't be too concerned about, you know, see, for example, right now you've got most points. So although your offense was a little bit rusty, your defense and your rotations were super clean still. And yeah, so just keep practicing, master more of your simple mechanics. Don't be afraid to be a little bit more patient when it comes to when a ball is in their half and their defenders are there. So if the ball is going towards their net and the defenders are there, especially slowly, sit a little bit further back in the field, because even if they miss, the ball can still come to you, and you can make that decision when you want to. If you pushed up close, you have no choice but to make a decision. When you're a little bit further away, you can decide whether or not you have enough time to push for something. You don't have to rush for a goal. Unfortunately, you were down a lot of this game, so you actually kind of did have to rush for a goal a little bit. However, you know, it's still a good habit to get into, is staying a little bit further back. It's something that does happen in Champ 3 and Grand Champ, is there will be a lot of ping pong moments where the ball would just go back and forward, full field, just getting clapped all the way back and like along, instead of these tiny little moments where everyone's really close together and like people are getting these tiny little beats here and there and everywhere. But yeah, all in all, it was a good game, and you guys played really well, and it's probably like the perfect analysis game, in my opinion. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I hope this has helped. You also be safe. I know you work in retail, so please be safe. Keep everyone far away from you. Tell them to fucking appreciate social distancing, and yeah, have a good night, people. GG's.